Hey there internet, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do two more of our viewer requested tricks, and we're going to do chops and reverse chops. Prerequisites. Obviously having a solid 3-ball cascade is great for this one, and I would probably recommend having a reverse cascade as well, just because reverse chops is way easier to go into, in my opinion, from reverse cascade than it is from a normal cascade, at least getting started. Apart from that, there aren't really any other prerequisites. This is quite a beginner trick, but if you've done any of the kind of like 2-in-1 hand stuff, where the other hand does something, just getting your other hand to move while you juggle the other ones, that's going to be a really helpful thing to have done for this trick. So you can check out maybe our 4-2-3 video. There's some like good exercises in that one. So what is a chop? Starting off in its most simple form, a chop is a trick where instead of going underneath the ball coming in for the normal cascade, like this. So see, when the red ball comes in, the green ball comes underneath. For a chop, when it comes into the hand, instead of waiting to come underneath the ball, you're going to physically bring the ball over and throw. Over and throw. Over and throw. And this is actually also going to be our first 2-ball exercise for chops. So what we're going to be having here is you're going to have that kind of like 2-ball exchange going. But then yeah, when the ball is like halfway up in the air, say like halfway across to you, you're going to take the hand that's going to release second. It's going to come that nice arc over into like the middle of where your pattern is. So if we think our arms are normally on the outside and in the middle, we're going to take the ball into the middle and then throw to the other side. Then we want to learn both hands of this, obviously. The thing that you really want to pay attention to here is that the ball you're going to do the chop all over the top of is already in the air before you start the chop, because if you're not really paying attention to this, you can quite easily just do like an underarm throw. This isn't really a chop, and it's definitely not a good one to get in the habit of at the start, because when you come to doing it with 3 balls, this is just not going to work. We just really want to make sure that the ball is in the air before we initiate that chop motion. The timing on this 2-ball exercise is a little bit weird as well, and it feels really fast to start with. Whereas I think once you start running the 3-ball version of it, it doesn't actually feel so fast. It feels a lot more natural to continue on doing it once you've already like initiated the chops, because it gets its own timing and rhythm. So if this one does feel really fast to you, don't worry about it. Just like continue on. We're going to practice it a bit, and then we're going to move on to 3 balls then. We're going to start with just doing a single chop in the pattern. So we're going to get our cascade running. We're going to pick the ball we're going to chop over. For me, I'm going to say I'm going to pick the green ball is going to get chopped over. And so when I throw the green ball, I'm going to go whoop, boom, and then back into my cascade. Same from the other side, back into the cascade. Oh, almost went for chopping the green ball that time. Moving on from here, there are like 3 different options of tricks that we can use to practice this before we go into trying just chops on all the balls. So obviously you can try your right hand constantly, you can try your left hand constantly, or you can pick one ball and try to chop over the top of that ball constantly. So let's do all 3. First of all, my right hand. Next, left hand. Finally, we're just going to pick a ball to constantly chop over. So, say again, I'm going to pick my green ball. As you might notice when you start doing them all from the same hand, you're catching them a little bit earlier than you would if you're waiting for it to come all the way down for that 3-ball cascade. So say I'm juggling my cascade here. When I'm doing the chop, I'm intercepting the ball quite high up to bring it down and put it in. This is one that definitely takes a little bit of practice with. You can wait till it comes all the way down to the normal cascade kind of catch point to do the chop. However, interrupting the arc like somewhere, you know, like 2/3 of the way through is going to give you a much like faster chop, and it makes it easier to run the pattern as a whole. This isn't something I consciously did when I started to do chops. However, it's something that I found just kind of happens eventually once you've practiced it for a while. You just kind of get the feel that you want to like grab it a little bit earlier. So last thing we're going to do with this one is we're going to do all 3 balls as chops. Again, we're just going to get our nice comfortable cascade going, and either maybe you just try 1-2 to begin with. 1-2, 1-2, 3, and build it up slowly like that, just adding more throws in each time. So 4, then 5, and always going back to your comfortable point of the cascade. It's the way I would recommend learning lots of tricks, is that instead of just kind of trying the trick and pushing on until you fail and drop, you try and learn it with like good technique and good habits at the start, so you don't have to like, you know, work out any of those bad habits later. And the best way of doing this is to set yourself a goal for how many catches you're going to do. You're going to do that amount of catches, and then you're going to stop. So either, you know, again, I'm in my cascade, I'm going to pick 5 catches of chop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to try and do those 5 catches as cleanly as possible, and then go back to cascade. Because, you know, if I'm going to just keep going, eventually I'm going to make like a bad throw or something, and then you're just going to lose it, and you're going to get no good feedback as to why it went wrong and how you're going to improve it for next time. Obviously, we have learnt chops with balls so far, but they work also really good with clubs. And you know, if it works well with juggling clubs, knives really bring a new meaning to the name chops. Whew. Moving on from chops, we are going to look at the next variation, which is reverse chops. This, you can imagine, is the same as time reverse Mills mess, where we did a little while ago, where if you take a video of someone doing chops and we put it in reverse, you end up with reverse chops, which look something like this. Learning reverse chops, we're going to go about it in exactly the same way as we did with chops. To start with, this one works best from, I found, reverse cascade. So this is why I said reverse cascade is good for this. So the 2-ball pattern here is we're going to start with 1 ball kind of held towards the center of our body. We're going to throw the orange one here across, and we're going to try and come outside it first. So over the top. And we're going to try and then do that while getting the throw of the red ball away. So, like this. Again, like the 2-ball exercise for the chops, I find this one feels a little bit faster than the actual 3-ball trick feels. So if you're struggling with this, again, don't worry about it. Just like get a feel for it first, and it will probably feel easier once we go on to doing a 3-ball version. And speaking of which, moving on to the 3-ball exercise, we're going to have our 3 balls going here. I think doing this one from a reverse cascade is the easiest way to do it. You can do a reverse chop from a normal cascade. However, I feel it feels way more natural doing it from a reverse cascade. We have basically, again, the same as learning chops. We have 3 different options here. So we could do all from the right hand, all from the left hand, and then picking one ball to do the reverse chop with each time. So let's just go through those. All from the right hand. All from the left hand. And then picking just one ball. So I will pick let's go with the red ball. Next, we're going to try and build up to just doing all 3 balls. So starting with just doing 2 in a row. So we'll bum bum. And then starting the other hand. Ooh. There was one actually that just happened for me. If your throws go really high during this, it's going to be quite hard to chop on top of them. So you want to keep them quite down and in control. I was definitely letting it get a little bit out of hand there. And then we're just going to build it up slowly again. So we're going to do 3, and then 4, and then 5, and so on until you feel you are comfortable running the pattern. And so 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on until you feel comfortable running it. With reverse chops, it's kind of the same deal as with the chops, that when you get into running the pattern consistently, you do want to catch them like a little bit earlier in the throw. So instead of waiting until it comes right down towards the center of the pattern catching it, you're probably going to take it a little bit higher. So again, maybe like, 3/4 to 2/3 of the way through its arc. I want to be thinking about intercepting it and bringing it round, rather than waiting for it to come all the way down. Yeah, you can do it where you wait till it's right at the bottom of its arc. It does feel a little bit weird, this one though, so and it feels a little bit more like frantic in your arm movements. You really gotta flail them out. Whereas if you just intercept a little bit earlier in the pattern, it feels quite natural and it's got a bit more of a consistent rhythm to it. So there you go, that is our video for today. This is quite a conceptually simple trick, so there isn't that much detail that we can go into. It's just going to be a case of practice. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed it and got something useful out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.